All right, we talked to him before the start of the season. With the season going on, 5-4, all your goals in front of you. Welcome back to the show, Temple Coach KC Keeler. How you doing,
Yeah,
Coach?
great. Great to be here. Had a tough one this past weekend against, I think, a really good East Carolina team. Coming off a 16-day bye. It's like one of those, I'm crossing my fingers. Hope they're sleepwalking here. They did not sleepwalk. The coach had them really prepared and really excited to play. And it was a tough matchup for us because we're really banged up on defense and really, especially in the secondary, lost two safeties. And at one point, both corners were down. Um, and we actually, of our top 25 or so, nine were out for the game on defense. So yeah, I mean, we lost to a really good football team, and we had to play better. And now we get our third straight on the road homecoming against West Point.
So talk to us about that. What's it like to go play? Jeff and I covered years ago the Army Navy game. What's it like for you to play a service academy from the honor and prestige of it
Oh
to
yeah,
the toughness that you face there?
yeah. No, I mean it's an honor. It really is. And I always tell our players like the rules of the road. When the game is over, we're going over to their alma mater and do their alma mater with them. We'll stand at attention, and then they will come over to us if we're at home and with our people. Whoever wins basically, goes last. And I said, you have to understand, like the guys were playing, and we lost a tough one against Navy. I mean, 2 point conversion at the end of the game. They had a guy who moved pre-snap, and it should have been a penalty, so we should have gone into overtime. We should have gotten our timeout back, and so good chance we could go down, score, and kick a field goal to win it. But it just didn't work that way. So but when that game was over, I know how tough a loss it was. It didn't matter. We're going over and we're honoring them because when they're done with football, they're going to serve this country. That's a pretty high honor. They're going to protect our rights, our liberties. And so, yeah, I got a chance to play in Navy 5 times when I was at Delaware. Got a chance to play Air Force when I was at Sam Houston, and this will be my first time against West Point. Now, I've coached against Coach Monken before when he was at Georgia Southern. Terrific football coach. I mean, as good as they come. Um, but this will be the first time up there at West Point.
And that's got to be an additional challenge for you, is to play in that tradition. I mean, you want to you've shown the respect towards the academies, but at the same time you don't want to give too much respect because you want to win a ball game.
Yeah, no question. It's definitely this mentality is we're going to fight them to the end, and then when it's over, we're going to shake their hand. And that's my whole mentality in terms of just playing this great game. My thing is this is like we're going to fight them until there's all zeros on the clock, and there's someone who has one more point than the other team, and then after that, we're going to shake their hand. I make sure after every game, every player is off our bench shaking the opponent's hand because I always tell them this, if they beat us, boy, they must have put a lot into this week. And so we have to go congratulate them. And I expect the same in return. I expect when we go, after a ball game, I expect them to come over and shake our hand too. So there's certain things that are really sacred to me, and just how this game is, how you play this game is really important. We were talking earlier. I just got done doing media, and people are like, "Wow, your injury reports are so much more thorough than like 98% of the country." I'm like, "Yeah, I told our guys that's a rule. We're not playing that game. If one of our guys misses a practice, we're gonna announce it. We'll put it on the report. And then again, same thing with faking injuries. Our game is so much better that guys don't fake injuries now. So much better. And I told our guys the same thing. We are not teaching that. That's not what we're going to do. So again, I just believe there's a certain way that you play the game, and we're trying to do it that way at Temple.
When you play a service academy, there's an additional challenge in that they play a very stubborn brand of football.
Oh,
Passing is not a priority. It seems like. How hard is it to change everything to play that brand of defense, especially against the service academy?
yeah. So a couple of things. The first thing is we do not use a football by 80% of our defensive snaps playing a service academy. So in other words, they're like it's assignment football. If you have the fullback, tackle the fullback. Don't guess and think the quarterback, now has the ball. Because when you guess and think the quarterback has the ball, the fullback's going right down the middle of the field, and that's your guy. So we play a lot without a football. So it's a lot of, fullback, quarterback, pitch, fullback, quarterback, pitch, fullback, quarterback, pitch. And then you start breaking out the passing game. And it's very much where you got to have your eyes on your guy. And they do such a good job of coming out and showing those hands and then running right by you. So like it's a run first mentality, but boy, they can hit some home runs on that wide open passing game if your eyes aren't where they're supposed to be. So yeah, I mean, you want to have a bye week at some point to put in your defense. And we did before. We actually had a bye, or we call it a get better week, before UTSA. And so before UTSA that week, we didn't prepare for UTSA. We prepared for Navy. And then we prepared for UTSA. Unfortunately, we beat them. And then we went and played Navy. But the only way we had a chance to even compete with Navy was getting that extra weekend. And so now going into the West Point game, the Army game, we have gotten all the terminology in terms of how we line up and how we identify things. And so practice went a lot smoother today. We just got off the field than it would maybe like if you're playing Navy week 4 of the season and you didn't have a bye week in front of you.
You come into a team that was 13 and 42 over the previous 5 seasons. And when you joined us before the season, you talked about changing the culture and being unrealistic for people to play for you.
Right.
How's that vision come into focus with this team? And how have your captains or veterans set the tone?
Yeah, we talked a lot about it this week because we're getting to the point we're trying to get in a bowl. And I said that very first meeting, I talked about going to a bowl. And I didn't even have a staff hired yet. I didn't even know, what you could do as players or who was staying. But that was a lot on hope. Now on deeds, we're in position to go to a bowl. And so just understand, yeah, this being unrealistic. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a lot of hope going into this thing. But now we're at the point where, guys, we're right there. And so, I think the guys have bought into that, and I think they believe that they're a bowl quality team.
How much does it help recruiting, the messages that you're sending to the current players and the messages that you're sending out by the way that you play the game? For example, you just mentioned, you don't coach and you don't tolerate fake injuries.
Right.
You're seeing big time programs that have gotten fined for doing just that.
Yeah.
How much does it help as you go out on the recruiting trail and talk to parents and high school coaches, setting that tone and living that tone, not just saying the words, but actually living them?
That's a great question. The greatest example I can give is that when I came in here, I did not throw a hand grenade into that locker room and blow it up. The exact opposite. I met every player individually, and I said, listen, if you want to get a Temple degree, I'm not cutting you. Just understand, I'm going to have high standards, and there's certain ways we're going to do things. And, if you don't go to class, you put yourself in harm's way of, not being on this program. If you have social issues, if you're not a good teammate, I said, but I'm a traditionalist. I think part of guys choosing a school is about getting their education. And there's so many guys who wanted to get this Temple education. So we didn't really have that wholesale change. We didn't bring 80 new players in. So I think that speaks volumes out there that I'm not cutting guys. I'm kind of very old school about this, about getting your degree. And there's a lot of loyalty here when it comes to those things. Playing time, that's something you earn. Loyalty, that's like you getting a job, you getting your degree, you getting an internship. That's loyalty. Playing time is something you earn. So I think it's a great message to the parents, because the parents go, wow, that's kind of old school. You guys actually talk about education. That's old school. You actually don't cut players, so I think the way I do things, I think resonates. I always love when a parent comes on a visit, because 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, sometimes they get caught up with the wrong stuff. When a parent comes, it's very much like, I see the family atmosphere. We talk to the players. They love the fact that your door is always open and they always can interact with you, So yeah, I think I do it a little bit differently. It's my comfort zone, and it's also just how I was raised as a coach and how I was raised as a man.
On the field, it's paid dividends. I mean, you have one of the best offenses in the conference. The offensive line is coming along, even though
Yep.
it's young, and you have Evan Simon at quarterback, who he's sort of been the heart of the success. 21 touchdowns, over 1,600 yards. Talk to us about his leadership, how he helps make the offense go.
Yeah, I mean, we brought a transfer in to compete directly with him. He didn't care, and it was toe to toe during training camp. In fact, going into game one, it was very much okay. Evan's going to get the start, but we're definitely playing two. We're going to play Giovanni, and Evan throws 6 touchdowns that game, and it's tough to get him off the field the next game. And then he ends up going 21 straight touchdowns without an interception. So he's a guy that doesn't hear the noise. He doesn't hear about they're trying to bringing somebody to beat you out. He doesn't care. He's just going to worry about his play. And I give this example. Evan could walk into the defensive meeting and say, "Hey, Coach Smith, I need the guys for a second." Coach Smith would say, "Evan, it's all yours." And all those defensive guys would sit at attention listening to Evan Simon. I mean, he is one of the single greatest leaders I've ever been around, and didn't know that until you saw it unfold day by day by day by day by day. And when your leadership group says, "Hey, Coach, can we have a little bit more Evan Simon? Can we get him to talk to the guys?" They're looking for a little bit more Evan Simon. And so I have Evan talk to the team before we head out. When we leave, we pray. I'll lead that, and then I step aside and Evan talks to the fellas. So this is all that, just nothing you had planned, just something that developed. And what you see is a guy who's just a really strong leader that had done a really good job of keeping this team all going the same direction.
How do you find those leaders?
Boy, they're hard these days. And I give this example. When I was growing up, we were always playing basketball. We were always playing strikeout, against the wall. We were always playing, football in one of the lots that was open, and then you'd hear my father, you could hear his whistle, and you knew you hopped on the bike and you got home as quick as possible for dinner. Kids aren't doing that now. They're on video games. The let's pick sides develops leadership. You working out the rules together, that develops leadership. All those things now are they're just not important, or just not as fluid or as frequent as they used to be, because kids are just doing this on the video games. You see them on their phones, you see them on the video games. And again, growing up, when I grew up, it was all about going out and playing, picking sides. I mean, you talk about leadership. Okay, you and I are captains, we're gonna pick the sides. I mean, there's a lot that I just think how we were raised is so much different than how a lot of our young men are raised, and we have to be very conscious of that. And it's really tough to find leaders. And so one of the things I really work hard at is leadership development. And I told the boys today, I'm like, listen, we had a situation where we had 12 guys on the field, and it was a killer. And I pointed out the player that it was completely his fault for not being out there. But then I also, but for being out there, we had 12, and because he was taken off because he was actually starting for us for corner because we had an injury, and so listen, we're gonna take you off of punt return. So he goes out. Now we have 12. Well, I have 3 guys devoted to special teams, 1 guy in the box. All they do is making sure that we have 11 out there. We had 12. Then I explained to the team, and so it's on them. I said, then I explained to the team, I'm passionate about playing with 11. I always tell everybody on our special teams group, I can live with 10. I prefer 11. 12 gets us fired. And we had 12. And that's on me, because 98% of the time, I'm on those headphones when it comes to either punt return or field goal block. Count me 11, count me 11, count me 11, count me 11. For some reason, I was doing something else. I missed that. And then I compound it by it becomes a 4th and 1, and I put our punt return team back out there, but hey, look for the fakes. And they had the kind of bodies in there that they probably could run a fake at us, and they did. And so now it goes from this huge play where we have great field position and possibly go down to a 1-score game, to now them going down and making a 3-score game. I said, that's on me. I said, and that's how I lead. I lead where I am not afraid to say, hey guys, I made a mistake there too. So like when you're in the locker room, like you can't be calling your teammates soft. It's we need to be tougher. We need to do a better job. We need to be more physical. It's the we. Once you say we, the guys will buy into it. Once you say we, they'll understand like you're including yourself in this. So it's a very teachable moment where I showed them where I'm vulnerable too. That like if I make a mistake, I have no problem identifying I made a mistake, because I think when I do that, I give permission to everybody else to look inside also. And it's not this defensive, well, like it wasn't my fault. It's like, if the head guy is able to say that and do that, then we should be able to do it too.
When you're looking for kids to come to Temple football, are you looking for the we's, and how do you identify the we's? And if I could just follow up, one other thing is competition has become like this bugaboo in college sports
Yep.
now because of the transfer portal. We've talked to athletic directors and other coaches about this so often. Does having the we mentality help with getting guys that are willing to compete and stay, or is it something that you can't make this work together? You can't have
Yeah.
both.
So, we'll probably have to come back to the second part of the question at some point.
Yeah.
But the first part is like when we get guys on campus, it's a job interview. They should be interviewing us. We should be interviewing them. And I'm really big about, hey, can you bring your parents? Because if you're 18, 19, 20, and you call home and say, hey, I'm going to Temple, first thing I'd be like, well, why? Well, if your parents are on the trip, then they can understand why. And I can't tell you how many parents I've had that said like, wow, this is such a family atmosphere. You guys are in this thing together. And, great example, the class that we currently have committed is ranked 75th in the country, above Virginia Tech, above Auburn. Third of all G6 schools, second in our conference. And that's without winning a game here. That's just us coming in here. But a lot of that is, having these conversations and talk about how we do things. But we're looking at those players as, okay, like you're coming into our building eventually, and how are you going to fit? So it has to be a good fit for both of us. And I always tell our hosts, our current players, that if they don't fit in, we need to know about it. And fortunately, we've done a pretty good job over my time, identifying guys that are coming in and saying, okay, like I think this is a good fit. But I've had times. I remember we had a JC kid from California a couple of years back, and my guys were. So I always check with them. Are you good taking him? No. Okay. Why? First of all, coach, we didn't like how he talked to his mom. Okay. I felt the same way. Good. Other thing was all he talked about was things that had nothing to do with us going and winning football games. Okay, we're on the same page. Hey, we're not going to take them. So I give a lot of ownership to our players that this is their locker room, and if they don't want to have, someone in that locker room because of how they. So I think that's how we kind of manage, looking for the right players. What was the second part of the question?
Jeff, you're on mute, but I'm sure you're following up with.
Yeah. When you're looking for those guys, the we guys, does competition help or hurt that? Because to me,
no. So the transfers are different than the high school kids. Like with our high school kids, we say like, listen, like you're getting the same dollar amount as everybody else. Like if you're a quarterback or a wide receiver or a defensive tackle or a kicker, it doesn't matter to me. Like you're gonna come in, earn your spot. With the transfer guys, I say, listen, and this is how we recruit. If we're taking a transfer, we have a need. I'm not just going to put my locker room full of like mercenaries, guys that are here for a year and then like there's 50 of them and they're all gone the next year. I have no interest in doing that. I don't think you can develop a culture there. But at the same time, I let them know, like, listen, there's no guarantees. If you're the best guy, I'm bringing you in because we have a need. But if you're not the best guy, I'm not playing. You have to earn that. Like again, we talked about loyalty earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Loyalty has nothing to do with playing time. Loyalty is about getting your degree, getting you a job, getting you an internship. Playing time is you earn. And so like a lot of kids want that, hey, am I going to be your starter? I don't know. You have to come and prove it. Because I know this, if I tell you I'm going to be the starter, you're going to be the starter, you should be leaving this office saying, what's he going to say to the next guy? And the next guy. And the next guy who comes in the office. Oh, those coaches who say you're going to be the starter, and I don't care how clear cut it is, you can't say that. You can say, listen, we're bringing you in for a reason. If you look at our roster right now, I need a running back. I think you're super talented. I think there's a good chance you could be our starter, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. I think once you cross that line, I think you jeopardize the whole integrity of your program.
Obviously, last one for me. Having a tough loss like last week kind of takes you back to earth, but you're somebody that doesn't hide from the bowl eligibility talk. How do you keep these guys grounded and not have them read the media buzz and their family and friends that are saying you can go to a bowl game?
Right. Yeah, no, I'm right there, like saying, hey guys, we talked about in the first meeting. The difference in the first meeting was it was hope. It was all based on hope. Now it's like there's like tangible reasons why we're bowl, a game away from bowl eligibility. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a great motivator. I think it's a great way to keep them locked in. We just played a really good team, come off 16 days that was healthy, that had some pretty good tweaks for us when we were all banged up, especially at some positions that's the last thing you want to do is, not have your starting two corners against ECU. And then lose two safeties in the game too. So basically 4 of our 5 in the back end were out either all the game or a good portion of the game. So we got bounced back. I mean, we didn't play our best game. They were really good, but we didn't play our best game. And that's the more important thing. If we'd have played our best game, you'd have said, hey, we lost to a better team. I think we lost to a better team, but I'm just so disappointed we didn't play better. And so new game, new opportunity, our third straight week of we're the homecoming opponent. Let's go to West Point and get that bowl eligible win.
Coach, you talk about hope. When you start at a new program, you always have hope that things are going to work out. Now that you're seeing what you've been able to start building and where things can going, are you even more excited?
I am. I think the sky's the limit here. I think our university recognizes, having great football back here is going to be a real positive for the whole brand. We're making an investment in this football, program, which gives us some opportunities to even get even better players in here to compete. So, yeah, I mean, I think what we've done so far has been positive. Getting that bowl eligibility is that number that we have talked about since the first meeting I had. So getting that is a big deal, even though getting 5 wins, like I said, they haven't had more than 3 wins in the last 5 seasons. Getting to 5 wins was a big deal. Getting that 6th one is a major deal. There's no question about it.
Coach, I just want to let you know, Jason slid me a note a little while ago, and I wanted to read it to you.
Okay.
If I could play, I'd want to play for him.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I try to treat him like we have this beautiful big red sofa in my office, and we call it the therapy couch. And I always tell the guys, like, listen, the therapy couch is always open because that's how I coach. Like, it's like, we're in this thing together, and sometimes I need to be little sister, sometimes I need to be uncle, sometimes I need to be big brother, sometimes I need to be stepdad. Whoever you need that time, I'll step into that role. And it's really more about just listening. I don't have a lot of answers sometimes, but it's just more about listening. And I think those guys know that I'm here for them. So I appreciate that.
Well, the closest I'll ever see to your office is interviewing on the radio show. I do appreciate.
You still have eligibility.
It's not about eligibility; it's about ability, Jeff. Yeah. That's always been the problem for me. Coach KC Keeler.
All right, guys.
We keep watching you to do some good things this season. Thanks for giving us some time.
All right, see you guys.